I see a level 253 Nightwalker.
Yeah.
Who is in the Baked Alliance, so your level is high, let's say that. And you're planning on getting your level any higher?
Yeah, actually, I kind of realized, so from 230 to 245, I actually didn't train at all. I literally leveled through dailies.
Mm-hmm.
Because I exclusively just logged in, did dailies for 30 minutes, logged off. I did not do a single totem. And then I started realizing after, it's like slow progression, started realizing that I'm going to be kind of hard capped at level. Like right now, my goal is to do hard Lomian. So to try and solo those two bosses. But after that, like, what can I do? Dark Nail is like, what, 265 level? Or you unlock it at 255, but to do full damage it's 265, or
yeah, full damage, quote unquote, would be like 275, right? Because you're up to 10 levels above, you still do bonus damage. Next is usually like normal gloom, and then you can start.
I already solo normal gloom. Yeah.
Normal dark now can be soloed like around 260, but you'll need pretty strong gear or just like good mechanics. You can definitely overcome that level difference though. And like Varishilla is usually like around the time like 255 to 260 that you start like making parties for that.
Yeah.
So it's like the next stuff. Yeah, and then if you're strong enough after that, like moving into the hard gloom, hard dark, or chaos. Which one is chaos? Is it chaos gloom, hard dark now? Parties. Usually that's like a trifecta with Varishilla as well. That you do like all three of those. And then the option becomes like do like solo will and lucid for more chance of the drops. Like if the book drops, that you get 100% of that, or you like duo with someone, or you start like exchange carrying with people to try to get your other characters that maybe you're bringing up in levels to try to get some arcanes there. Those basically become the options after that. And I mean, the major thing is that if you want to get into the further parts of the game, you want to get into Saren and Kalos and all that stuff, you want to get to 260, 265, 270 for those symbols to get those started, right? That same gold rush from from before is just starting all over again to try to get those levels so you can start building those symbols, because it takes a while to build them.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. Training is definitely not the funnest part of the game, in my opinion. Or at the very least, not sitting down for 2 hours and doing a totem. Like, I'm fine with doing dailies. Like dailies, like your regular 30 minutes, just get it done. That's okay. But it was sitting down for 2 hours, exclusively just grinding. I mean, even if you're watching something on the side, I don't know. It's not
your thing.
Yeah, it's not my thing for sure. But I'm just starting to realize that I probably have to do that at some point.
Yeah, if you're trying to push to 260, and especially if you're trying to push beyond that, then if you don't do the 2 hour sessions, maybe, right? Maybe you just don't use the full totems and everything like that. Depending on whether your schedule allows it, or some people get like RSI and stuff. If you just do like too long of sessions, depending on your personal situation, you will have to adjust your expectations towards how quickly can I get to the next big level and do the next big clump of content if you don't at least like get to the totems. And if you don't do the full totems, then you're gonna just have to plan on longer term, basically.
Yeah.
But if that's what fits with your playstyle, then that's that. Or if that means that it's gonna take too long for you to see any progress and that's gonna be demotivating, then might also be the point where I think you can get to 260 decently fast now because of the change of the level, the level required, right? The XP, they changed that quite a bit in Destiny. But it might be the thing where you just get to 260, work on that one symbol, and just kind of do those bosses around that level, and then you just kind of wait until the next EXP requirement goes down or something like that. If you're just not feeling making that big jump. For me, it was more, I just go to like 260, and then kind of wait until there's a big training event, and then use that to get to 265, for example, and then just kind of sit there for a while, work on other characters, work on Legion, work on other content, and then when there's a really big training event again, then try to make that jump from 265 to 270, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm literally just sitting with all my totems and just coping that I'll do it. I'm saving it for Night Troop. I'm just coping.
And
yeah, but
and how's what kind of prep what kind of other prep are you doing to make yourself kind of capitalize on that?
I don't know. Other than telling myself I'm gonna use all 30 totems in that time, nothing much.
Okay, so I mean, the extra value from the totems would be like extra EXP coupons, right? Or like gathering up all your Saturday and Sunday boxes, building on Legion coins, dojo, that kind of stuff. I mean,
well, at that point, I was doing dailies every day. I actually did Monster Park, so I have 100 Sunday boxes that are just like unopened. So, I don't do dojo. I think I did a run last week, or no, this week. It's resets on Sunday, right? So I did one this week because I saw that I probably want to prep pendants, but other than that, oh yeah, and my Legion, I have like infinite EXP coupons or infinite coins. I can buy out the Legion shop for a while. I have 14,000 coins. Okay. Yeah. Other than that, nothing much.
Okay. I mean, that's a very solid foundation, though, right? And do you have some more characters in your account that you can kill some bosses with that give you a chance of those MVP buffs?
No. Yeah, my Legion or my boss muling situation is like extremely scuffed. So I have 3 characters at 2 at 220 and 1 at 215.
So there's a pretty big gap with
the thing is, like, I can do CRA on one of them, and the others, like, they're over. Or actually, I haven't tried post Destiny, but yeah, they're like 15-minute clears, and I don't know. I just don't find the time usually. Yeah, they're not very strong. Let's just say that.
Okay. But you feel like you're a little bit on time constraints. I mean, I'm guessing you're like school started again, so it's a little rough to find the time.
Yeah. University, a lot of projects and stuff.
Yep. Feel that. Yeah, especially taking those 2-hour breaks for like a full totem is it's out of that or have a social life pretty much at that point, right?
Yeah.
Those are like your options. Even though it might feel safe to fall back into this one, might be a good idea to do the other one a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just scrolling through this stuff here a little bit.
Yeah. Oh shoot. But yeah, yesterday I got dropped an armor box and I forgot to put that in here. But yeah, I have another piece of arcane work on.
Oh, nice. You were working on the gloves.
Yeah.
A little bit on this side. We got a mark. Oh, I forgot to check. Was that monocle transposed or no?
Oh, no. That monocle is not.
Okay.
Yeah. It's only the pendant that's transposed. Yeah. I think I'm like 50-something clears. No pap mark. A little unfortunate.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah.
Something like that. Here, and you're at 6K. Is that something that you have? I guess it feels weird to start scaling up and leveling the boss mules when you don't even have time to do like totems and stuff on your main.
No.
You know, because if you have limited time, it's better to spend like 45 minutes or an hour like doing a totem rather than to spend an hour on 2 boss mules that will make maybe a little bit more money, but then you make no progress on the Nightwalker, right?
Yeah. I think honestly, with Destiny, my 2 characters can probably solo, or all 3 of them can probably do CRA like quite comfortably. Because my Night Lord and my Dark Knight have been through a DMT and like 3, 5, 10, 15s. I think they're all 12-star. Oh, the thing is though, pre-Destiny, wasn't CRA like a lot harder? Because I think my temp CRA expired on my Night Lord. Okay, also I trained my Night Lord and I realized my experience with Nightwalker was kind of screwing me over. Because Nightwalker is like super mobile, and so I kind of played them the same way, and I died a lot. I think that frustrated me, and I just stopped playing the character.
as the Night Lord, yeah.
Yeah, as a Night Lord.
You feel like was avoidability better, or did the Siphon Shield actually do something?
No, it's like jump attacking. Like I'm not used to being stuck in animation on the ground, just like waiting to die.
For bosses or actually for mobbing?
For bosses. I think, yeah, like Vonbon and Vellum, like I just felt a hard time like adjusting myself.
Okay.
And also the 3-minute just bind, burst, all your damage is gone for the next 3 minutes, just AFK in a corner was weird.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah,
well, that's how you notice that classes have different playstyles, right? And just because they're theoretically good doesn't mean that you will enjoy them. So it's a good thing to check if you actually do like them, and if you do, then you know that's a good match, and if you don't, then you know to move on.
yeah. I think that's why I didn't bother like pushing really hard to get my own CRA on that. I was just like,
so now it's naked or?
It's using the frozen gear.
I see.
Right now, I think.
I mean, you could like do an exchange run very easily, or like a duo run, right? If you really wanted the pieces.
Yeah.
It'd probably still be nice to get the pieces so you can get the Star Force, right? So you get your Legion power up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you can never really have too many Legion coins. People are always like, oh my god, like when I had like 130,000 Legion coins, like, oh, you can never spend that. I try to explain to people, but yeah, it's hard to get through to people. But then when I actually started using my totems for about 4 months, I went all the way down to 80,000. So that was like minus 50,000 coins in like 4 months. Like you can very quickly spend all of that if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Even just on totems. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the scaling past a whole bunch of 200s and 210s is not really something for you to worry about at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, you go on. I'll just keep scrolling.
Yeah, you'll see my Legion, like, there's a lot of 200s. I think, like, 90% of these are bonked. They're all bonked.
Yeah, I can tell. If it's frozen gear or pencil gear at 200, then it's probably bonked.
Yeah.
Is the way I look at it, yeah.
Which is all.
Almost all of them, yeah. The Hayato actually has Fafnir gear, so that one might have trained.
Yeah, well, the Hayato was Terra. Terra Burn.
Was Terra Burn, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so my Hayato, my Marksman, and the Dual Blader were my 3 Terra Burns. Yeah, the rest are literally all bonked. Or, like, event. They do the event from 200 to 210.
Yeah. And there haven't been any other characters that you enjoyed to the same level as the Nightwalker? Or in a similar way, but like same type of, or same level of enjoyment, I guess.
Actually, the Dual Blader is actually quite fun in my opinion. I'm doing 3-door on it because it gets through it relatively fast. I think it's like 5 to 6 minute clears or something on 3-door. But I think I haven't done Vellum like struggle in so long, and I'm probably not used to the class, so I've died out like 3 times and I've just stopped attempting. Yeah.
And Nightwalker doesn't have active dark side, right? Like it just activates like passively.
It has both. So
it has both. Okay.
When we jump attack, its uptime is like 50%, and then we can press the button and turn it on manually. Okay. Yeah.
Because for Blade Master, I'm pretty sure it's only active, right?
Yes.
So it
But
might be in
you
some
have
situations where you're not used to it. Yeah, exactly. But then you have iframes to compensate, and then Nightlord doesn't have the iframes, but has the strong dark side as well. Would it be weird to summarize that like your Legion is pretty much just there to support your Nightwalker at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to situate that, I guess.
There is no secondary main here, or I guess you could sort of think the dual blader, but not. It's like third main or something. Yeah.
Okay, so you had questions about WC and Hyperstat. Yeah, I already saw some stuff that we can definitely talk about there. Arcane Acquisition, Order and Droplets. Okay, sure. Should your Meso be going from here? Yeah, I'll look at all the pieces that you have. I already saw some of it. What you're missing to solo hard Lotus and Damien aside from hands? Yeah, 4 hands helps. You know, just extra button presses getting in there. I mean, as a Nightwalker, you're already used to pretty intensive stuff. So far, like in trying hard Lotus and hard Damien, how far have you gotten? Would you say?
I've gotten like, so this was before Tobin, so no temp stats. I think I got to 50% phase 3, but like I had like 4 minutes left, and I died out.
In which one?
Hard Lotus.
In hard Lotus. Yeah. Okay. So you have 4 minutes left when you were halfway into phase 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And dying out is mostly just combination of attacks, or?
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
Is there a way for you, like a safe way for you as a Nightwalker to kind of ignore the Demolishizers, like jumping through them and not taking damage in the same way as just like tapping regular Darkside? Can you do that?
Yeah, there is like you can stop attacking and your temporary Darkside lasts for 3 seconds, I think. So if you just don't attack, it's like pretty safe. But
is it the green stuff on the ground? Because that stops you from jumping, right?
Yeah.
Does that get you quite a bit?
Honestly, I don't even know what I died to.
Well, that might be a thing if you try again, is to really try to analyze what is actually killing you. Because if it is the same thing over and over, then that might be just, if you see that thing, you just stop and you just focus 100% on dodging it, and then you just continue, right? Because what will happen a lot of times at the beginning of boss fights is that sometimes you will be saving your iframe for like the oh shit situations, and then you end up, like in your situation probably not as much because you use it for your burst, right?
Yeah.
But you might hold on to certain things that you can do to find, like you're looking for like some kind of clue, some kind of trigger on like, here I need to use it. But then if you never really find that moment, you might be hanging on to it the whole time, and then you end up, you know, kind of wasting the potential of that, for example, or not using it as much as you could. So that is honestly a really important part, I think, of the stage of practicing a boss, is also just maybe like recording your run in like OBS or in like some kind of I think Windows has like built-in game whatever the fuck, right? So you can just record your run and then just look back and on your deaths on like, what do I actually die to? Is it something that's very easily avoidable and it's just like, oh, you know, just bad hands or whatever, or is it something that is legitimately requiring more of your attention? In the beginning, when I was doing the Lotus, what would most of the time kill me is being in the wrong corner, having platforms come, and then a lot of stuff falling while I'm being pushed into the wrong area. And then every single class has like its own things that you can do. Like as the Arc, I would basically just save my iframe a lot of times. As the DA, I would just float up and like get enough airtime and then like see where I could go. Or pop Frenzy if I had that. Always find like some kind of trump card that you can hold on to that would carry you over. And if lasers are coming, you could also wait with your bind always, wait with your bind and burst until there's a shit situation, and then do bind and use your iframe to start up your burst, and that way you can make sure that you guarantee your burst, plus also you're immuning the imminent death that's coming, right? Yeah. And that might lead to you having more lives, but then running out the clock. But then optimizing within that would allow you to get further in the boss fight and actually clearing it. But yeah, we could do like a breakdown of an actual run if you have one, right? We can also just look at like what's going on here, where could you move instead, and what would be the better play. In the beginning as well, when you're doing the bosses, what you'll start realizing is that the faster you get with Hard Lotus, is that the first phase, basically you don't want to use any burst, right? You want to just like get in there and just like destroy that one. And then phase 2, pop your burst in the beginning, and then probably kind of like wait out until your burst is coming back near the end of the phase, so that as soon as you go into phase 3, you can immediately drop a burst there and then get a good head start on that. And you basically don't want to die in phase 1 and 2 whatsoever, right? And keep all your lives for phase 3. I don't know if you're, how many of those boxes you're already ticking, but as you get stronger and stronger, and then, you know, with your guild skills and making sure you have your freezers and your familiars, and it's got to be a little bit of everything combined. But yeah, I feel certain that we'll definitely be able to optimize within your current stats a little bit better and get you more damage to go with, and then that combined with the practice and definitely looking at like what is going wrong and how can you improve on that. It's not as extreme as like with Black Mage, but I will say the main thing that made Hard Lotus for me really easy was doing a boss that was even harder. And then like starting Black Mage runs was just so much stuff going on at the same time. Going from Black Mage runs back to Hard Lotus made Hard Lotus like a cakewalk. Because it's like there's nothing going on. Like you just weave through everything. It's like the simplest part of Black Mage Part 3 when nothing is going on. That's like Hard Lotus level. So sometimes you need to maybe dial it up to an 11 so you can dial it back down to a 9 and then be okay, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The one thing I guess the closest to you is you could do something like solo Darknell or something. That's got a lot of stuff going on as well. On the level of Hard Lotus, maybe a little bit more depending on the situation. With all of those extra elite bosses, right? They're like spawning out of midair and trying to push you around and seal you and snipe you and all that. And then once you get more adept at that and moving through that. That could also be another thing, is that you just try to run out the clock first without like doing any damage and just focus on dodging and just get a better feel for your mobility, which skills you can use when, how far exactly do you dash to the side, you know, what platform can you stand on, what one can't you stand on. I don't know if you saw that video, but you can actually dodge like Lotus's push with a regular jump. You don't even need to do anything special, right? I don't think you even need to stand on the absolute highest point of a box. But if you stand on the right side of the box, on the top or on the second highest level, you can just jump over his push, for example. And
ooh, wait, I didn't.
Yeah, like little things like that, or messing around with that a little bit, can already give you just one extra option every single time a bunch of shit is going down. And, you know, your timing is important then, right? And you talked about the hands and everything. But, you know, as you die to more things, you'll start dying to those things less. And sometimes you just have to build a pile of bodies to realize what is safe and what is not safe. And yeah, you'll just get better at it. For Damien, it's basically just like brute forcing your damage and trying to not stand in the blue balls in phase 2. But other than that, there's not too much to that boss fight other than what you already know from normal, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I was thinking of attempting Hard Damien because I think I do have the damage to do it. And it's
around your point
technical.
Is when people start to try out.
Yeah. It's less technical than Lotus, because I think my problem with Lotus is that I know that I have to damage because I've gotten into phase 3 at 50%. I'm just like, oh, okay, I need to do more damage. So, like, that makes me play a little more aggressive, and I die because of that. If I think about it now, I don't think I've ever died to a Demolisher. I think I just died to a combination of, like, usually getting stunned and then, like, pushed. And usually, like, I don't Dark Sight or I don't dodge debris correctly, and I just die. Usually that's how it goes.
Yeah, if you get stunned... Yes, the stun thing that's the main thing, I guess, the thing that can get you. You can also try to go into like the Cygnus Blessing link. Well, you have that one, right? But if you like fully stack it, that might make you a little bit shorter duration on when how long you're stunned, right? That can, it's like a silly amount, but it's the difference sometimes between being in a stun lock and just being able to walk out of it, and that can be the difference between just dying and not dying. So that might be the thing to look into as well if you can get all of those Cygnus links in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a combination of things, right? It's going to be more practice, a little bit of that, a little bit of damage, optimizing WSE that I already looked at a little bit. Moving into Arcane, like all of those things together are going to... If you build now a very solid foundation of the mechanics, you'll be able to take every single upgrade you make and just make that so much more efficient when you actually do apply it to your character. And that's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess since we're talking about Hard Lotus and Hard Damien, do you feel like on those two, if there's anything else that we can discuss?
Um,
I mean, yeah, there's a checklist, right? I've got like my my regular old checklist on like which things to set up before you're doing bosses. I guess do that and make sure that you aren't forgetting anything that's terribly important there. Because as you start doing more difficult bosses solo, there's just more little things that you can do, and if you use all of them, you will see a nice amount of damage come out. And if you forget one thing, it's not too bad, but yeah, if you're not doing everything and then you forget something, it might have a huge impact on your actual damage output, and even if your mechanics are that great, you might sell yourself short there. So that's like the little thing that I have, and then even then I still forget stuff all the time, so it's a whole lot of stuff to remember.
Yeah, I've gone to Colbert a lot of times with wrong Legion on, or like wrong Link.
You come out and you're like, how did I get like 300 points less? What's going on? And then you're like, oh, I forgot that. Rip.
Yeah.
And then you see near the end of the week if the score is getting in trouble, if you need to run again. Most of the time you just don't have to, so it's like, okay, I'll just won't forget next week.
Yeah.
No, anything else for Hard Lotus, Hard Damien that you could think of?
Not much, but honestly, I think I don't know if I've said this in chat before, but when in the time that I was just sitting from 2:30 to 2:40, like basically just doing dailies, I watched Kobe's Ice and Guns progression, like solo progression in Reboot in KMS, and he soloed Lomian with, I think, 29k stat, and I looked at his potentials, like I should be ahead of him in every aspect, yet he comes out in phase 3 like way ahead of me in damage. I'm like, what? What is going on? And I was just wondering, like, does hands make that big of a difference? Like,
practice is huge. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put a number on it, but if you think about it, if you give someone like a 60k stat character who's never played Maple, they will die out in phase 1 Hard Lotus, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the extreme case, of course, but I mean, I believe he's like soloed Black Mage in like his 50k stat. I don't even know if he was liberated already. I feel like he flies under the radar a little bit because he's not like boasting about anything, but the amount of levels he's done and amounts of accounts that he's played and the amount of like bosses that he could do at like low stat is quite impressive. I don't know to which extent you have to try to contextualize everything because KMS versus GMS and them being ahead in gamer stat wise and everything. But I think it's good to see, oh, that is actually possible with a character, but then you always have your own limitations, right? And try to, you could use it as a motivation, but don't use it as a confirmation whether or not you're like, you suck or not, because someone else might just be better at it, and then that's just what it is, you know? Or they might learn faster, or they might be able to,
Yeah. I understand that.
But it's also a different class, right? So it's always, it's hard to compare one-to-one.
Yeah.
But we can, I think we could optimize quite a bit within what you've got going on and see if that gets you a lot of extra damage, just more efficiency from the value that you have already accumulated.
Yeah. I know two of the glaring issues I have right now are definitely my hyperstat. So I haven't reset it once. Like, this is my hyperstat since hitting 140, like years ago.
I noticed some stats there that we could.
I've not reset it a single time.
Yeah,
and then also potentials.
Yeah.
The thing about my potentials is that I do DMT, I do events, but I'm like sort of a seasonal player, but I've seemed to dodge every single cube sale.
Wow, that's
So
There's
I've
not that many of them
never,
though, so but yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get, yeah.
Like every time a cube sale comes around, I just don't seem to be playing. So
Unfortunate.
like my potentials are, especially my WSE. My WSE I know is garbage. Like I have I'm 3-1-3 right now. So 3-line attack, 1 boss, 3 ID.
Yeah, that's
And I
definitely
think
something to
I have like functional 99% ID.
yeah,
Because
that's
I've done an oak and a straw, and I'm like, there's like a 50 mil difference between the two. Yeah, I'm like actually 99% functional ID. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, that's because you have a bunch of built-in ID as well, right, on your stacks on your debuff.
Yeah.
So that
that
essentially counts as a line, so you can subtract that line, and then even without that, you can be a line lower. So you can easily roll out of 2 lines without really losing that much effective damage, and those could be replaced with attack or boss, and that will have a significant difference on your damage output.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the things go hand in hand. So when it comes to hyperstats, I guess first of all, out of those two, it is a good idea once you start. Well, actually, for really low level people now, but if you don't have it yet, is to have at least 2 completely separate setups for whether you're mobbing or bossing, because we have those presets now, right? So it would be a good idea. If you want to re-roll an existing, that's like 10 mil cost, but if you just switch to another preset, that's 3 mil. So you can also just say, okay, I'm going to switch to the second preset, which is essentially a reset for you, but it's a cheaper one. And then the main stats, oh, that's something I still have to work on. Because I have a whole old hyperstat video, but I have something else that I've been working on, but I still haven't really published. Yikes. But so the main thing, and I think you have that part at least, is, you know, you have like level 5, 8, and then like 1 level at a time, basically, right? And then work your way up to level 10. And then once you're going past level 10, then you really want to start thinking about, okay, this is pretty expensive. What do I really need? What do I not really need? And so, but now because of the presets, you can really build one specifically for bossing and mobbing, especially now that they added damage to normal monsters, which is very significant since they changed the passive from being flat damage to being final damage, right?
Yeah.
So the main thing is going to be, if you're building your presets, is that you prioritize anything that gives you so for some characters, you know, they need extra mana, whatever, to be able to even play their character. For you, that's not a thing, so that's good. Like mana, PP, TF, DF, right? And the special stats. Then it's arcane power, because that's final damage. If you need to get into a next like scale, or what's the term I'm looking for? Like a trench.
Boundary, like
you have like taxes, and you go like a new bracket, basically, right? Like a bracket of final damage. If that is achievable with just a little bit of arcane power, then that's always the most valuable, because straight up final damage, including for mobbing and for bossing, of course. So the purple one here is both mobbing and bossing, and then bossing is just, the blue ones are just for bossing, and the red ones just for mobbing, and they're pretty exchangeable, because you see damage to bosses, damage to normal monsters, you know, you just swap those over essentially. Crit rate is for most classes the same, but some classes like Buccaneer, for example, have built in like, what is it, like extra 20% damage to 20% crit rate to bosses, or 40 or something crazy like that. So that means when you're bossing, you can actually go way lower on that hyper stats, and then you can move it into other stats. But that's why it's good to have, or you have extra, like for you have extra IED to debuffed ones. Which means that on some bosses you might not rely on that too much if you're just one-shotting things, and other ones you might. So you could do 3 different setups there. Sometimes people do an extra setup with a little bit of arcane power on some high level bosses, so that you can get to, like for Black Mage, for example, if you have an event like this with Tobin and you go into arcane power, and you go into arcane power with your hyperstat, you could actually get to plus 10% final damage, which is huge. So people will min-max that way. But essentially it's just 1 for bossing, 1 for mobbing, and you're kind of exchanging the bonus EXP and the IED, and you're exchanging the boss damage and the normal monster damage, and that's basically it. And as you get past 250, you're also going to be pushing stats past 10, and like 211 to 12. And it's a good idea for these leftover stats, just for your main and maybe some secondary stat and attack and everything, that those really don't go over level 5. If they go over level 5, that probably means that you can take them down to level 0 and then level one of these others up instead, which will give you more value. And if you have some points left over when they're over level 5, it's probably better to just keep leveling and to just hold on to those free points and then just slam them into most likely what's going to be critical damage, or or like basically one of these three essentially. Sometimes IED, but in your case IED won't be as high on the list because of your passive. So that's the general priority. So the main thing for you will be like the luck. So that's a little bit too high, right? Critical rate, if that's what you need, that's cool. If you don't need it, we can completely axe it. These four combined is good on a bossing setup. If it's but then you need 0 on the normal monster damage. If it's a normal monster damage setup, then the boss damage and the ID need to be 0. The normal monster damage needs to be higher, but then if you can kill everything with your setup, that's cool. Then you pump in the bonus EXP and you try to get that one all the way up to 15. If you have enough arcane power, you take all of those points out. Right now, your points are just very, very spread, and you've put in the work to get the levels and to earn the hyperstat points. But by not applying them efficiently, you're cutting yourself short in damage output. So that can definitely be optimized in that way. So I imagine something like your setup being like luck and attack, maybe on like level 4 or something. Bonus damage on like 11, damage on 10, IED on 10, critical damage on 11 or maybe 12. Critical rate anywhere from 0 to 5, however much you need. And that's like your new setup. And then for mobbing, a similar thing, but maybe you have arcane power is probably going down to 0, bonus EXP is probably going to be on like 12 or 13, and then just normal monster damage on 10, damage on 10, critical damage on 10, and then however much critical rate you need, and then maybe a little bit leftover stats, something like that. That'll probably be generally what you're at. And you've got a lot of critical rate in your inner ability now. You're probably, and then we talked about it before a little bit on like, what are the next bosses and what are the next stages that you're getting to. Once you're really getting to the point where, I would say until you have at least like 1.5 million honor, I wouldn't really try to touch my inner ability. Definitely not past what you have, because that's really good. Once you have like 1.5 million and you're feeling like, okay, upgrading gear and upgrading Legion and all of that, that's getting like really, really expensive and it's taken forever, especially considering the limited amount of time that you have. But you did build up a lot of honor XP through bossing and maybe event shops, that kind of thing. You might want to look at then switching from a mobbing to a bossing inner ability to squeeze in a lot of extra damage without really having to spend a whole lot of money. Basically, it'll just come down to circulating most likely 10 bill or less, which, at that point, for equip-wise, that's not really going to get you much anymore at that point, right? And then that'll translate itself into like boss damage to debuffed, that kind of combination, and that should help you out a lot. And hopefully by that point you have access to more critical rates, so you're not reliant as much on the crit rate in the inner ability. I'm not sure exactly for Nightwalkers, but I'm assuming the crit rate might be in there in the sense of getting rid of the Phantom Link, but
crit rate is the best.
Yeah, so that might actually be really good then, because then that means that if you do want to make that switch, you're not even gonna have to circulate. You just lock your crit rate and you just roll for boss top basically. And then if you get that, you lock that and try to get like attack or damage to debuff, and that's pretty much it. So you're set up there financially, like in terms of like cost for circulators. That's a good setup. And then what goes hand in hand with that, and again, we're always talking about crit rate and IED, right? Those are just so important as base stats. What goes in hand with that is your familiars, because I saw you that IED-wise, your familiars are really good as well, right? You got like a double 15.
I have one double 15%, and then I have another 15%, but I don't have it equipped right now because I had 99% functionality.
Exactly. But this is a really good thing where you can very easily switch into that for very little cost, right? But that'll allow you to free up a whole lot of damage when it comes to your emblem specifically. And was the emblem also critical rate or was that damage? Did I miss?
Yeah, it's crit rate. I think 9%.
Crit rate, yeah. So there's going to be a lot of things moving at the same time, but we definitely, like if I look at your account, we definitely want to just completely reroll that emblem, and that needs to be working way harder in terms of damage. Because even if you're looking at in terms of mobbing, it's essentially doing nothing, right? It's like a weak link skill. It's not even an archer link skill in terms of mobbing, right? So if you had two emblems, that could work, but you only have one, so it needs to do more. In terms of increasing your damage, that's definitely where you'll see major differences. And the thing, like, you can redo those hyper stats, even though that's still pretty flexible. It's not going to move that much around. Where you're really going to be moving things around is in your Legion grid. So let's say that you do, I probably keep the weapon because the arcane weapon is probably pretty close, and that was another question of yours, so we'll get to that in a bit. But the emblem is really where the goal is just to get as much attack out of there. So if you get like 2 lines of attack, 1 line damage, 2 lines of attack, 1 line stat, or just 2 lines of attack for now even, will be a huge increase. Even if the visual ID goes down, you know, you can like do the extra, the familiar very easily. If you really need to, you could move around, but that's not even going to be necessary. You could move around the blocks in the Legion grid, but that's not going to be necessary. That would probably only be necessary if like you're, if you get to Arcane Weapon and that rolls only attack boss combination, mostly attack, and then the emblem only rolls attack as well. And then even with the debuff, you'll probably still be, I'm guessing, like at a high 94 to like low 95 functional, which is still good. But, you know, what if you roll, like, I don't know, like damage, attack, IED on your emblem, something like that? That by itself could also already be a good upgrade. And that would also mean that IED-wise you're completely good and you can start moving a lot of other pieces around. At that point, the question is more, what do you do with your Flora Jewel? Are you going to try to roll that? Because you have a decent amount of outs there because you can get boss damage there. But then again, secondaries have a lot of junk lines. So that's a bit more expensive. Is that a case of just mass red cubing on a side secondary, because you can very easily just get another legendary secondary, and then just free roll red cubes? That'll be better than black cubing over this, especially when you're talking about having limited resources. And then just kind of swapping them over as you make small upgrades there, right? That's probably going to be the future for the secondary.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say in terms of final damage, but I imagine pretty easily that you get somewhere between like 10 and 15% final damage increase just by replacing your emblem's IED for like 2 lines of attack. Maybe even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if you look at it right now, yeah, your total attack is, 28%, right?
Yeah.
And ideally, for people, you probably want it like in the 60s.
Oh.
30, 40. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you want that, yeah, you want that source to double. And even with like a 12 and 9, you're already, you know, adding like 60%, so. Of the current,
I think that one of the things that scared me off is, because I have no bossing meals and I don't farm, I don't get that much meso, and I looked at the cubing calculator, and the 3-line like emblem is, I think,
yeah, it's like 35 bill to 40, yeah.
Bill.
Yeah, it's going
and
close
I was
to
like,
40, yeah.
What the heck? Like, what if I just get left with a garbage line? Or like, I don't have enough meso, so I just like didn't cube it, or haven't tried to get something else.
Yeah, I get that. This goes more into a little bit of like the meta towards like, where does my money go? I don't know if you want to like touch on all of those points at the same time. They are definitely connected, but I'd rather make sure that we kind of go through it point by point and have the topics a little bit like cleared up, and then move to the next one, and then I'll make the connection with the other ones. But it is definitely all internally connected. Okay. Yeah, if it comes down to like where all the money goes, you know, to be really to be really forward, I think it's a really imbalanced way of throwing your money at your account. If you see like absolute weapon with this potential, this secondary, and this emblem, and then right underneath it is like 22 CRA pieces underneath. That's like a gross misallocation of resources. Not like that, you know, you should be like repenting and everything and like shame, walk through the streets naked. But it's like, if you even just take like 5 to 6 bill off of these 3 pieces each, and you just sit on 20 or 21 stars, and you put that money into the potential of these 3 instead, the total amount of value that you would get back out of just damage for your account is insane. It'll easily be like something like 10 to 15% final damage extra. But that, yeah, part of that is just experience, and part of that is like just digging into the calculators and just getting deep. Or maybe you got really, really lucky on the CRA, and I'm like implying a whole bunch of money that went into it. But more than likely, at least one of these pieces boomed like 15 times, right?
No, I got incredibly lucky.
Okay, well, see, it was
Yeah.
option 1. You win some, you
Yeah,
lose some.
well, okay. So the thing is, I think I'm getting back to this, that I usually do everything on event, right? And so there was a good period where it was like 5, 10, 15 Shining Star Force, and so I had everything 17. I was just like, it's Shining Star Force. I need to do something.
Yep,
So I was just like,
that's true.
all right, I have like 30 spares of each CRE piece. Screw it, I'm gonna just send it. And in 20 bill, I got 3 pieces, 22. So
Okay.
incredibly lucky.
Yep. Yeah, see, yeah, that does happen, yeah. So maybe you didn't have that much extra money to throw at the pieces, but from like yeah, without knowing that background, if you see that, I would always have the CRA sitting at either like 19 or 21, you know, whichever interval based on the event, like you said, that just happened. But like before going from 21 to 22 on these, I would definitely make sure that the weapon goes to Arcane first, and that the WSE as a whole is like organized better. But like you said, if there is a Shining Star Force, you essentially just have to throw your money at it, because your money just double the value if you spend it then versus another time.
Yeah.
So you will get imbalanced with spending disproportionately more on your Star Force and less on your cubing. But I mean, I guess we're getting a little bit into the balance of spending your money. But once you're at Legendary, I don't think waiting for cube sales is really ever worth it, unless you're just playing round the clock. If you're really pretty seasonal and you're like generally somewhat more of a casual player, potentials is just something you work on when you have a decent amount. If you, like you said, if you're going to make the jump to like 3-line emblem, ideally that is really what you want to do on an event. But just going for 2-line or 2.5 line, the amount of outs you have now that would make your damage go up compared to like 65% ID and 9% crit is probably more than a dozen different combinations. So that's something you can just do off event.
Yeah.
Okay, so WSE in general, that makes sense. Hyperstats makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we're going to allocation of resources, but you were first talking about Arcanes, right? Yeah. So my rule of thumb is basically, if you are you are not in a hard lucid hard will party now, or you are?
I am.
You are, okay. And your guys are just clearing just fine, no issues there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that's the case, I would probably wait until you have at least a total. Let's see, if you get boxes and you have droplets for the bosses, once you get to the point where you could switch like the whole set over and have the full set, I think it, especially if there's also an event coming, because we have like the Night Troop event coming, right? And that should have a no boom room up to 15. That'll save you some nice money on Star Forcing the Arcanes, and then you just sit on that, wait for 5, 10, 15, boom, 17 Arcanes pretty cheaply, at least for that part of the that part of the equation. That is essentially the next move for your account. Like once the potential on the emblem is good, it's the next step is really just full Arcanes. So and then maybe a little bit secondary on the side, but you could definitely do the Arcanes first, and then try to get the good potential, good flame on the weapon, and then you can see like, okay, what do I need now that the potential on the weapon is somewhat set, emblem is somewhat set? How many options does that leave you in terms of hyperstat and Legion grid to complement that, and then what options does that leave for the secondary, and then and kind of with the familiars as well, right? But you have a boss there, you have IED, so you're pretty flexible there. So a lot of the outs, any kind of combination attack and boss on 3-line, or at least on a prime line, would for the secondary would be nice. And then it's just a matter of looking at the calculator, how much does that cost? Okay, and you just wait until you have a reasonable amount of money. But yeah, so you have one glove and then one extra armor box right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and I didn't update the piece from yesterday's clear, but I have 8 will and 26 loosen, I think. Yeah. So I have enough to buy 2 pieces, basically. Or, well, not enough of the droplets that drop from mobs, but enough boss droplets to get 2 pieces.
Yeah. So you could do like you could get the shoulder from the box and then get the cape and the shoe, for example. And then you have 4, and then you just need a weapon. Yeah.
I think that was the plan. So what I was planning to do was get as many arcane pieces as I can before 10-12, get everything in 12, and then no boom room, get everything to 15, and then when the next 5, 10, 15 comes around, get it to 17. And that's about it.
Yeah, and then you can flame it on the side with anything you get from bosses.
Yeah.
And try to get some okay flames on that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you would have to buy some
just
extra droplets, right? If you wanted to make those 2 armors.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
So like 108, 216, and you're at like you're at 140, so you'd have to buy 70 extra, so that's 3.5 bill. That's probably worth it.
Yeah, well, doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, it's acceptable, and you know it's a one-time thing, and then you know you're safeguarding, so it's not like you might have to buy 4 or 5 backups and then buy 15 more bill. It's not that bad, so. Yeah, the weapon is... Yeah, a lot of times people are like, well, do you do that or do you just buy the weapon? But then what if you get a weapon box? That's always the what if, you know. I think you're fine either way, whether you get 2 armors or whether you get the weapon. Yeah, I would say it depends. If you want to... So that kind of goes into the future stuff. Like, if you get to 260 and you want to be able to go into, like, Cernium immediately, you're going to need full Arcane, especially, like, Arcane Weapon. But you probably already want the Arcanes, like, tapped up to, like, 19, you know, which you will do with backup boxes. So in that sense, you'll have to wait for, like, a backup anyway. A lot of times when people get the weapon early... people usually never regret it just because of how much better it is, because you push harder in all corners, right? In potential, in maybe not in Star Force immediately, but in Flame, and the base is so much higher that it is always a huge upgrade, and it always feels really good. It'll definitely speed up, you know, Hard Lotus, Hard Damien potential clear times, and it'll get you closer to that what we talked about if you want to do, you know, like smaller party Hard Lucid, Hard Wills to get a higher chance for the drops and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how much pressure you put on yourself for that. If you're okay with taking that slow, you can just do the armors, because then you have, if you get a box, you have a backup, you have more outs. You can just try to tap things to 18. If it all goes, then you can trap things to 19. If something blows, you just get that as a backup, get it back up to 17, you're good. And if you have a weapon drop, you know, you could just pick it up as a weapon and just hold on to it until there's a shining, for example, and then just try to send one to 19 or something. You always have those backups. Personally, I would probably... I feel probably going for the weapon over the 2 armors. Because of the state of your WSE and how quickly you would have the funds for it. It's not like there's like 16 other projects you're working on, and Arcane is, you know, it's not that big of a deal right now anyway. I think Arcane Weapon is probably right now, right after the potential on your emblem, is probably the next big thing that you want to be working on. And that can be a huge increase for your account. So I would feel stronger just getting the weapon at this point, honestly. Just so we can get it out of the way. And then if you get a box, then you have a backup for later. And it'll feel, you know, it'll feel a little bit weird, but it feels even weirder having all of the materials necessary for your weapon in your account and then not getting it. That'll feel a certain type of way every time you look at those resources as well, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I'd be okay with getting the weapon here, and the armor boxes seem pretty common. So I mean, common relatively, you know, compared to the olden days where you would just literally go 3 years without seeing a single piece.
Yeah,
it seems a bit more reasonable now.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm just spoiled. I think we've cleared 3 weeks now, and I've only got 1 box, and I've seen party members, I think, like get 2 boxes already. I'm like,
yeah,
damn. I'm unlucky.
Yeah, you're unlucky.
But comparatively, I'm probably very lucky already. So.
Yeah, I think so. I think well, it's just hard to say. We don't know the exact number of what is it supposed to be, and you know, with droplets, when the number is that low, just a little bit unlucky versus a little bit lucky could be like 3 times the amount, and then it's hard to see it as +2 versus 300%. It's always, it just kind of messes with your monkey brain a little bit, where you're like, no, that it's not a small difference, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, true.
But I hope that clears up the order and the Arcane acquisition part.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure I keep some timestamps going, so that people can follow along in the session. And then we have the, where your money should be going, right? So you're talking about the Arcanes. We already talked about that part. Meso spending. So the Dawn set. So I saw that you had the Twilight Mark. That is definitely nice. And what's your situation on slime? Are you like trying to party Chaos Slime or soloing normal?
No, I've been soloing normal for... I think I have around 25 clears. Something like that. Or maybe even more, honestly. But yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
very hit or miss with that guy.
Yeah. There's not exactly like people looking for sea slime parties. In my experience. Or at least in my guild, right? Yeah, I usually do everything in my guild. So yeah. Actually, I don't even see many people looking for trades. I think, well, probably between people. It's probably not like, oh, anyone trades sea slime.
Yeah, sea slime trade is usually if your main is like 275 plus, because otherwise those runs take for and even at 275 they can take like 50 to 20 minutes if you're depending on what class you are. So you really want that second character to have a slime ring to be able to do that.
So I've just been running normal and just praying.
I mean, running normal and just praying is fine. It's a pretty fast run, and you get a good crystal out of it. But it's essentially once you start doing hard lucid, hard will, and those runs just start getting a lot faster. Sea slime is basically like between like hard will and Varicella essentially. So once you're getting closer to like 255, 260, a bunch of the people around that level and probably in your guild and maybe even in the hard lucid, hard will party that you're at are going to be like, man, I mean, I moved into these Arcanes, you know, we've all got a Twilight Mark. My CRA is tapped, my superior stuff is tapped. Like I'm working on my rings a little bit, but I'm kind of waiting for events. Like I want to start, you know, getting some slime rings. And as you already noticed, from normal, it's just slim pickings. You can get very lucky, and then like one of my characters gotten 4 from normal, and then another character just hasn't. On another character, I got 1 from 7 chaos runs. So it's like, it's all, the distribution is just all over the place. So to open up your odds, you want to start doing the sea slime, but you do need a lot of damage for that one. But I think once you're once you know we clear up the emblem, arcane swap, once you're like getting past that 40k mark, then you should, other people should probably be at the same point. You'll see people getting a little bit too comfortable, I think, with 1 slime ring once they get it, and getting like 17 star and like 2.5 or 3 line potential on it. But I don't think that's that great of a thing to do, because you do want to transfer over. If you know you're going to be doing like chaos for a while, and you're going to get like 4, 5, or 6 slime rings eventually, and you're just going to tap on the ring, then you can do that. But I would, basically for that ring, I would advocate to do that in 1 move. So not like superiors where you go 17, work on the potential, then go 20, tap to 21, then work on the potential again. But really just do that last move in 1 go, actually. Yeah.
I think it might seem a little disgusting, but if you look at my accessories, I have a 21 star Conant's Treasure prepped transfer. It still has the epic potential. Like, I made this as something to transfer. You can actually see my old damage ring, the reboot vengeful ring, in progress. I used that as my damage ring, and then I realized I had a 21 star ring that gave me range just sitting in my inventory. I was just like, oh, I just use that as my damage ring.
When it comes to those, you can get stuff can be like moving past each other in terms of progress. I would say that it makes sense. The problem is when you're transferring over it and you're like losing the stat. So this is what I would do, and I don't know if it's mathematically 100% supported, but what I would do is I would get a 21 kind of treasure ring, use that as damage ring, get another one, transfer that into superior, get another one, transfer that into superior once you have enough coins to like do that move again, and then tap that one to transfer into the slime. I feel like that's the general move to do with the rings. So like you said, if you get legendary potential on this one, there's a huge damage increase, and like relative to how much money you're spending, right? And then typically by you get to the point where you have enough backups, and when you have enough event, by the time you have another event, you have enough backups so you can just send another one. That's kind of the idea behind it. And I typically also, I would like to make Meisters and send the Meisters also up to 21 before I would throw the Reinforced up there, because you'd like to have your Gollux coins not go towards backup Reinforced when those boom, but instead go towards trying to tap Superiors for 20 to 21 and have a safety net for that.
Yeah.
So for that you have the belt is done, right? But you still have the pendant, like, right? That, that you want to do, and the earring is also 17, I think, right? Yeah, and the and the ring is 18. So you have, what did you have, like 1,500 coins?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's enough for 2 backups. Yeah, I'd probably go for if you get a slime, it can be tempting, and then make a superior. But yeah, what if that doesn't work somehow, right? Because but then you're giving away like a guaranteed 21 kind of treasure ring, which would be a big damage piece for the chance of upgrading it. I feel like you want to do that with the second or the third one.
Okay.
So I would just take this one into use and just go legendary and go damage on this one. Yeah. And because you did the most expensive part already, right? But then you didn't finish it. So you're sitting on some damage potential there. In general, you talked about the other stuff. Like, there's the 3 things, right? Like the potential and a lot of it is just completely going down to Arcanes. And then the Dawn set, yeah, the same thing that goes for the ring, it kind of goes for the Twilight Mark as well. I don't know if I want to advise people to like go 17, you know, on both of those, and then get this 10% boss, and then kind of settle into that, because then you're gonna need to get like a bunch of backups before you even trying to tap past 17, right? Or trap from 20 to 21 on the superior ring, or on the slime ring, something like that. To me, it makes more sense to have first like a 17 or like a 19 tattoo with like okay potential, and then if you get a Twilight Mark, you know, you just try to tap that one to 21. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. If it does go, then you take it into use and then you move in, because then it's a guaranteed upgrade. And I wouldn't do that until you're already fully moved into Arcanes first. So hopefully by that time you've got like 2 or 3 Twilight Marks, and then, you know, the risk of not getting that upgrade is going to be significantly lower as well. I mean, for me it took 5 to get to 22, but the other character took only 1 to get to 21, so there's an okay chance that you make that upgrade, and it's really all about just saving up money, waiting 4, 5, 10, 15, and then just sending it. And then if it goes, it goes, and then you can commit. If it doesn't go, cool, it's another trace, and then you can sit on the rest of your money and just bide your time, wait for the next event kind of thing. Yeah, cubing, so we took definitely the emblem, the emblem, arcane weapon, like by far most important, and then probably I do the kind of treasure, and after that, probably black cubing your gloves, your arcane gloves.
Yeah, for 2 line.
Yeah, trying to get that double crit damage. Yeah. So that once the event does come around and you get up to 17, that you can just swap it over. And remember, you can just swap it over 1 piece at a time, but if you get the arcane weapon by that time, it'll already be 2 sets, so 2 set is already really strong. Yeah. And that'll be a very good upgrade. Yeah, and the flame, I guess, isn't the best one in the world, but it's a good starting flame. Oh, it's magic attack, damn it. I thought it was weapon attack. Then it would be... Yeah, I usually aim for about 125 flame score, roughly, for starting out on Arcanes. So this is like a 1... Yeah, it's like 123-ish. Yeah, so it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I would probably keep that for a bit.
Yeah.
All the flames are going to go into weapon anyway for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get like a tier 6 plus a tier 5, something like that at least. Tier 6 attack, tier 5 boss, something. Yeah, we talked about flaming, and when it comes to the mules, I feel like there's still so much to be gained on your main, and considering the amount of time constraint that you mentioned before, I think mules are just not part of the equation yet. I would probably work more on the mules on if you're just short on backups on your main account, and it'd just be too risky to try to go for an upgrade, but you do have like 20 to 30 bills, so it's not like you have nothing. But it's like, you know, what is the next thing you're going to do on mules? It's probably like tapping CRA up to 17, right? So you'd need backups for that. So you have to make sure that you've had enough time to have some backups, so you can just send them. Like, so for the Night Lord, that wouldn't be soon, but for the other ones, yeah. And also think about, are you making the upgrade to make the current thing you can already do on them just a little bit faster and just capitalize on that, you know, on your time a little bit more, get more time efficiency, or does it allow you to make a jump to higher level difficulty boss and really scale up how much money you can make on them realistically? And then on top of that, are you going to be able to and willing to capitalize on that time? Because if you're not, and you know that beforehand that you don't really have the time for it, making that upgrade is going to be forcing you to feel like you should be capitalizing on it and like you're missing out by not doing it actively.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to protect yourself from getting that feeling, because the game is built like that, right? On the FOMO, like it wants you to feel like you should be doing everything all the time. And then, but once that feeling is there, it's really hard to get rid of it. It's easier to just prevent that from creeping in at all. So sometimes I'm actively not upgrading on characters that can make upgrades. Like I could do hard Lotus and hard Damien on like extra characters on my account and try to get eye patches and berserks, but I don't want to do that, because then I'm going to feel like I have to tap them, and then I'm going to spend anywhere from like 3 to 8 bill tapping it. And then what if it works? Now then I have to commit money to make the, like, I don't want that evil. You know? So I'm not doing those bosses. I'm just doing normal. I clear them in like 30 seconds, get my money and get the fuck out, you know? So that's like good enough for me. So it comes down to whether you want to scale up to that part or don't, whether you have the time or not.
Yeah, I think I felt that like pretty heavily. I think that's exactly what I had with the Night Lord. That it had the equipment, right? It had CRA, and I knew it definitely could do CRA. But then I was just like, but I don't want it. Like, I didn't like the class, I didn't like the playstyle, so I just let everything expire. And then so now, with Frozen Gear, that is like epic with one line of potential, like it'll be even harder. So I'm just like, all right, don't bother. Like, it's out of my out of my radar now. Like, don't even think about the money loss by not doing CRA. It's just not possible.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're gonna lose money, but you also lose time, and hopefully you spent that time on something else that you think is more valuable, either it's school or social stuff. You know, it's all comes down to resource allocation, which is just time management, basically. Yeah. So I guess when you're looking at this ABCDE stuff, is there any category there where you have additional questions? I guess I can look at the specific flames of all your items, but I didn't see anything crazy, or not anything crazy bad, I guess. You could always, if you have backups, you could always throw flames at your Twilight mark, I guess. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I think just, like, my flames on Superior. Like, for non-boss items, like, what should you be going for? I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah, so here we have the progression grid, right? So we're looking at a flame score for items without advantage. And then we're looking towards, you're at your 250, so we're looking like middle of this towards the second half. So you're going to be somewhere around like low 40s, basically going towards mid to high 40s is probably a good deal. But it's really something you only invest in once the other ones that you've done have already gotten close. So the individual cost per just one flame score on a superior or just on a non-flame advantage is so much higher. It is for a very, very long time so much higher than on an arcane. I could imagine that going from like 48 to 49 cost on a superior might be like the same cost as going from like 130 to 131 on an arcane or something, like to give like a more extreme example. So the amount of outs that you have where you considerably get more stat is just going to be higher on those stats for so long. So it's I don't see myself circling back to like superior stuff flames to try to get to 40s and into maybe towards the 50s, at least until they're all 21 stars. So until then, if you have 30, that's totally fine. Because what is the difference between 30 and 40, really? It's just 10 stat. That's not worth risking 40 flames in a row of getting like 3 jump over, right?
Yeah.
Because that is what you'll get if you've flamed those things before. You get like 3 defense. Whoop-de-doo. Like,
I think all of mine are above 30 right now, so they'll probably just sit there for the foreseeable future.
I got 40 tattoo, 42 monocle, and those are 160, so those are a little bit higher, and the other ones are 32, yeah. And the belt, yeah, and for the belt, if you hit the all stat, that's always easy stats right there. So that's around 35, yeah. No, that's really in a fine position.
Okay, I think I had another question about. So, when should I push my superiors? So, I'm guessing you push superior to 21, and then like later down the line 22. So you just jump from 17, just like once
17
you have
fodder 21 into 20, then tap to 21. Then I would work on the potential, and then especially for the belt and the earring, you can get backups from the runs itself. So if an event comes around and you have. If an event comes around and you have like 11 superior earrings, you know, like God forbid, you're just like, oh, I might as well just try to go for it. But I would probably only go 21 to 22 superior after my Arcane has gotten to 19.
Okay.
So it would be like 21 CRA, then Arcane to 19, then CRA to 22, and then the superior to 22, like in that order, roughly.
Okay. I think I said this before. Like, I just seem to hit every single Star Force event when I do play. So
yeah, then you push a little bit harder. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at, but I also have a problem that 21 just like
is unfinished.
Irks me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like unfinished. When I look at that, I'm just like, it's just 1 star.
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom right of my inventory, there's a superior trace earring because I had a 21 reinforced prepped, and then I got it to 21. I was just like, okay, I should definitely sit, then make the superior I have right now drop gear, and then I was just thinking that, and I was just like, but then you gotta spend money on cubes and like recube everything. Why not just do that 1 star and then it boomed?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how they get you, because it's a lot of people, and it's peer pressure between people as well. You'll be like in Discord cubing or something, people be like 22 or boom pussy, you know, and it's like if it's not your equip, don't tell other people what to do with it, because you don't know all the time that went into it, and you could get very lucky on the first one and hit that 21 and basically be like home free, and then after that you could go like 8 booms past 20 and just be horribly destitute. That's why I'm more like, just cut your losses, but also cut your gains. You know, like if you get that 21, like you sit on that and just wait until everything else is also 21, and then you can always circle back and go for those 22s. The average cost and the average amount of shit that happens between 21 and 22 is just, it's not good. It's a bad amount. And I had these progressions before. I think I had one like 2 years ago where someone had 3 pieces that were 22 and everything else was like 13 stars. And I'm like, you Star Force in Discord, don't you? And he's like, yep. And everyone just keeps yelling at you to tap to 22. If instead you distribute that money and you have like a few 21s and everything else at 19, you're just so much stronger with the same amount of money. It's just not even funny how much damage you can gain that way. And that goes into a little bit as well into the stat, in how representative the stat is for how strong you are. Because if you're mostly getting a lot of damage from your Star Force, comparatively your stat will be a little bit on the low end, but you have a lot of weapon attack instead, right? And then you can get someone that's 28k stat if they have high boss damage, high IED, high critical rate, high crit damage, huge legion, and insanely high Star Force. They could have the same power as someone else who's like 38k stat if all of their stat is just coming from potential. And they have got like 17 and 18 star stuff, but everything is 3-lined. And or they've got like all of their symbols maxed, you know, like symbols is also a huge clump of your stat. But somebody who leveled really fast is going to have, and is at the same stat as someone who's leveled very slowly, they'll be way stronger, because the slower leveler will have a lot of their stat wrapped up in the symbols, and the other one will still have all of the symbols that's still going to, like, as a wave, you know, that's like crashing afterwards, that's still all going to come, and it's going to increase all the efficiency of the upgrades you already made. Even if it's just, you know, a final amount and not multiplied, it's still going to be a huge amount of free stat that's still coming your way.
You know what? That makes so much sense, actually. Because Kobe, I think, like, his Echelonian solo was pretty early on, or not early on, but definitely for way less time that I've played. And I have 13k stat in Arcane Force. So that makes... I never thought about that. That actually makes so much sense.
Yep. Yeah, that's going to be one of the bigger difference. Yeah, and for me as well, because I level pretty slowly typically, and it's like, yeah, all EXP. And I did a lot of my characters before you even got EXP from dailies. So I would get to like 242 and have capped symbols, and then it's like, well, now I got a lot of, in what is in my opinion free stat. Because I didn't have to spend money to get it, just a little bit of time, and I'm okay with doing that because of stream and everything, right? I can do some dailies in between, it's no big deal. But then you get a lot of free damage, and now that damage allows you to not have to spend real money on the character, but just be able to grind out the levels, and then you're at 250 with max symbols, and you can be like, okay, do I really want to play this character more? Then you can very easily start scaling up from that point. So it just depends on, do you use time more as a resource, do you use Meso more as a resource, and like, where does the balance lie, essentially. Cool. Any other questions on where to spend your money? Because yeah, I think for mules you can safely ignore that most of it right now. It doesn't seem like a good moment. Once you're like, you know, 17 Arcanes, and you're like waiting for backups to go to 19, and you know, there's no Star Force event really nearby. You can also look at the potential of like your WSE on the mules, for example, and see if you can get all that unique, maybe towards legendary. That's usually a very efficient way of scaling up their damage. And get any combination of attack and boss and IED will make them a lot stronger.
Yeah, I think the majority of them actually have unique or legendary. The Night Lord and Dark Knight played during DMT, so I think their WSE is legendary.
Yeah, that's a good time to send it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the rest of my Terror Burn, so the Dual Blader, the Marksman, and the Hayato, I just throw all my Craftsman cubes.
Craftsman, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they're all unique, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's good, yeah. And then you keep re-rolling until there's something worth looking at.
Yeah.
It's not like disgusting, like the 3% chance to gain 15 HP kind of lines. Because, you know, just love those on like epic and unique emblems. Ugh. Not good.
Wait, I actually had another question for the drop gear. So, I am trying to find the time to do at least 2 totems per week. Realistically, probably 1 totem per week.
Yeah,
That would be real.
2 if we're
but
squeezing
at
it
that
in.
point at which where I was just doing dailies like for months. Like I just got on 30 minutes dailies, got off. I at one point re-rolled all my drop gear from Meso to drop. And so would it be worth, if I'm only doing 1 totem per week, to roll back the Meso lines? Because I think I only have 2 potential lines of Meso right now. Like the rest are literally just 1 line item drop.
Yeah, that goes back a little bit into what we were talking about before. I don't know how quickly Nightwalker can do that, but it would kind of go into how quickly you are planning to get away from Limina and into Cernium, mainly for like chasing the levels versus chasing the Meso, the droplets, and the familiars. Because if you're going to be swapping quickly, you're going to stay in full damage gear, basically, to be able to kill. I imagine specifically as a Nightwalker because you want your bats to be able to kill something. So that means that Meso gear is then going to be completely dead. So depending on how many hours you're going to be getting out of totems, it may or may not be worth a switch back, depending on how you see that. Because if you want to get to the higher content, you want to get to Darknell, you want to eventually get to Black Mage, that kind of stuff, you're really going to try to get as much EXP out of your totems as possible, especially with limited totems. So it could be, could be a good idea. But then again, if you do that, that does mean that more of pressure, quote unquote, is going to come on your account for either definitely doing all your totems or scaling up on the mules for the boss crystals to make sure that you can keep making upgrades in a timely manner and not have to wait like, okay, well, you know, we're basically only doing Shining Star Force events. Otherwise, there's not even worth spending your money. And then we hopefully get like 100 bill every 6 months, and then, you know, that's how we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, if you can handle that mentally and it's like that's good enough for you, then that's fine. But if it's not, then it's gonna have to be another scale. I think most people stay in Limina until like 265, some even all the way until 275. And if that's in the plans, then definitely making back the Meso gear will definitely be worth it.
Okay.
Because you've got the ring with a double. Are there some like backup legendary items that you have? Like for example, if you go into the Meister ring, at least one of your event rings is going to fall completely flat, right? And that could very easily become a Meso piece. So definitely look into your account in that way to see if there are any pieces, like the Master SS ring maybe. Oh, that one's item drop rate. Yeah, any kind of piece that. Hunter John ring maybe.
Yeah, you can see I have 6 potential rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Cosmo, Spare Kana, the old one I used to have, that's 17.
Is it a solid ring? That's unique? Is it a solid or?
Oh no, that's cracked.
Oh, cracked. Okay.
That was like really old.
Yeah, I was thinking if it was cracked, I was like, wow, unique cracked. You don't see that too often, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really old.
Yeah.
Extremely old.
Yeah, I think I have characters that had that too. I think my Night Lord had like a solid, a cracked, just anything that could get Star Force on, you know, for the Legion power way back then.
Yeah. I think that was the plan like long time ago.
Yeah, I'm talking like when it was in Tynerum and it was like linked to the Commercy area, right? Like it was like the same continent still, yeah. You had the whole like Phantom was like a demon base or something, right? With the pre-quests and everything for Gollux. Oh yeah, this is a blast from the past. Yeah, there was some weird stuff going on.
Oh wait, I just want to say this. It doesn't have anything to do with progression session, but I have no pat marks and no slime rings, but I somehow got cursed, the cursed Magnus Sword 2 weeks in a row.
Oh yeah,
and I just cried.
Yeah,
I cried.
Where can I trade these in?
Yeah, like please, man, just like take them from me. I don't want them.
Yeah. And the people who are chasing those swords will never get them. It's Tail us all this time.
Yeah, I got one. I was just like, oh, okay, got the achievement. You know, whatever.
Whatever. Next week, what the hell?
Next week got another one. I was just like, dude, you could have been any other drop. I'm running hard, Elucid. I'm running hard will.
Yeah.
I'm running slime, running path.
Can you like opt
please.
out, increase my chance slightly for another one or something? Like
yeah, please.
You still, of course you still keep him as a trophy as long as you have space in your inventory.
Yeah.
Because what if you get 3, you know?
Oh.
If you get rid of this and you get another one, you'd be like, I could have shown off 3. Missed opportunity.
Also, like, I should never buy earrings, right? Or again, because the earrings I'm wearing right now are actually bought, and I've only gotten 1 earring drop, and it's the trace in the corner. Yeah, I've gotten like 5 belt drops and 1 earring drop.
Yeah, and the belt is already 22, so you don't even technically need those anymore. Yeah, I would just wait, and it's either like tapping the reinforce that you're keeping and then doing that move. That's probably, when it comes to the superior stuff, that's going to be the next move. And if you get a lot of common treasures, then you treat them the same basically. Or if you get a lot of dominators, you can treat them the same to tap into the superior pennant. But that's probably going to be the last of those 3 taps because dominators are way more rare than any of the other ones.
Yeah.
So the amount of backups you have will basically just determine when it's time to do that project.
Okay. That about covers all my questions.
There was one. Oh yeah, hard load said Damien. I guess we started with the last one. How to not make it a 29-minute run. But I'm certain that with just more practice and with just optimizing all the things that within what you already had. I guess we're gonna pass by the V matrix, but you're doing the 3 boost nodes setup. And you're Skill nodes are looking like they're leveling quite a nice amount. Yeah, I guess decent sharp eyes would be nice to get in there, right?
I have sharp eyes on my glove right now.
You have it, yeah. Oh yeah, true, yeah, yeah.
Later on, probably, yeah.
Instead of like rope lift for the extra little bit of damage, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, rope lift is only there for farming.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one thing
map.
for hard Lotus that might help you out is blink can be very useful. If you go up when
so
you
I've been
blink
using,
in the air.
I've been using blink. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because
So
now I
that
saw
one
blink, I was
slot-
like, oh wait, yeah, make sure to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one slot literally covers my blink. Yeah, it just I swap
Mhm.
between rope lift and blink.
Yeah, the bottom lift just keeps switching, yeah. And then if you get the glove done, then it can be sharp eyes for a bit. But by that time, you'll get closer to 255, and then you'll just have an extra slot to play around with.
Yeah.
So that
I
would be
actually did a totem in between when I requested this progression, so I'm 254, like
nice.
around 50%.
Oh, good stuff, good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So
Slot soon.
we'll, yeah, 255 soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you get your solid
but-
link skills. You get a lot of level 3s there, so that's good.
Yeah.
A little bit of
Oh, actually, looking forward, I know this is a little, like, quite a bit in the future, but for ignition for the 250 burn, I was just wondering, like, is it mandatory, like how it was for the Explorer, to make, or not mandatory, but like it helps to make a new Cygnus Knight? Like, do they have the same new Explorer requirement?
somebody made a post on the Reddit basically just breaking it down. I believe there was hopefully no weird shit on the front page. Oh, just a baby in a diaper. Good. There is some extra stuff, but I thought it was mostly cosmetic, the new stuff on the can I look? Is there a search function? Hang on, I'm a boomer.
Yeah, if you go to the top right next to the r/MapleStory, you can search it within the
top right within. Wait, am I blind? Hello?
in
here.
the very top middle of the
yeah,
screen,
yeah.
right before, right below the
Ignition.
bookmarks.
Here, yeah. Yeah, so you see all the Hyperburn rewards, and then so any Cygnus, and then new Cygnus. So it's there's a Mitras EXP coupon at 180. There's one personality growth version, and it's mostly symbols I saw. So like up to a total of like 200 symbols, and then a few nodes, like 20, 30 in total, and the extra unique emblem. So if you think this is worthy enough, then you can make a new one and then get all of these rewards as well. And then you have a main that basically, or a secondary character that catches up to your main really quickly. And then they give you like a 30-day 20% EXP title at the end of 250 to be like, keep going. Don't stop now, because the emblem might, the title might expire.
I don't think I've ever gotten any value out of the burning title. Like, I've literally hit the max level and just stopped playing it completely.
Yeah, I mean, as shown by the Naked Night Lord, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I got the rewards. And then, especially for seasonal players who come back, log into your character goes naked. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah, they're naked.
Carry,
They're
please! Yeah. Carry's megas go up, yeah. So I guess, yeah, it depends here. If you think those rewards are worth it, then go for that.
Yeah. So what I've been telling myself, or what I've seen, right, is like most Legion efficient character right now is Shade for the crit damage. So, and then I'm just telling myself Shade is like, looks like a pretty easy class. It's like a 1-button class, not very mechanically heavy. So like,
yeah, for bossing a little bit. I think they simplified it now, but there was like a time where you had to time a lot of the buffs really well, because we're also dealing with like skill resets and stuff.
Oh.
And then you got like bind and split, and it's of course important to bind and to split and to do your burst after all of that, not before, because then you lose a whole lot of your damage. So there is like a certain order definitely that you have to do everything in. Right now, Shade are really, really strong. I think because of how they changed how one of their burst skills works. Work, I should say. But that is getting nerfed again with Ignition to bring that back in line. Because like right now, Shades, at least for like Culvert, the Shade in our guild is like out damaging me on my arc. It's a little bit weird. But you know, as long as it makes the Culvert score go up, that's all that matters, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, they seem, at least for mobbing, yeah, they're very straightforward. You know, you got that Spirit Claw even just like empowers on the same button, so you don't even, I guess you do Bomb Punch and then Spirit Claw when it's the full map attack, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And we don't have like 16 million buffs to maintain, so you don't even need auto buff and stuff like that to be able to optimize it, so.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, like, it was either make a Shade or make a Cygnus if the rewards were like mandatory to get.
Yeah, exactly.
That way. Yeah. But
and I guess as a Shade, you might also make it into like hard lucid, hard will parties a little bit more easily as a support that helps out with binding and splitting and stuff like that, if that's something you want to scale up to.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be looking towards critical damage plus side characters, so you see like Jets, Hayatos, and Shades, you'll probably see a lot of those. Jets probably as a boss mule, it's got like an easier time, especially with the survivability and scaling up towards Lotus and Damien. Hayato is more if you just want to keep training and you want to go all the way up to 275 or something, if you want to go for like a 13k legions or something crazy like that.
Yeah. Well, I have a level 200 Hayato. It's sitting there.
It's good right where it's at.
That class
not your thing.
Like
okay.
training mechanic. I hate
not your favorite. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Well, now you just need to get that arc to 210, get that extra damage from the Link skill, right? The Lumi's on the way. Aaron can get up there. I think what some people also will do is 0, I think. To get those levels, get the extra EXP from the Legion block, and have a really good support as well.
I have a 200 0, but I don't. That class is also.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for Boss Mule though. It's Boss Mule 0 sounds like a horrible fucking time.
Yeah.
Maybe 250 is good enough to get over that hump, and then if you throw enough money at it, you know, it'll still be able to do everything quickly. But
okay, I think that covers all the questions I had.
Okay. Yeah. Any last words? You want to do a shout out to your mom or to your guild or something? I don't know. No, you're good. Okay. Kaguya Guild hasn't deserved a shout out yet. Yeah. Well, I guess I wish you good luck on everything then, and I hope everything works out at university, and you become successful and all that stuff, and you keep a good balance with all the stuff that you can do at your time. All right. Yeah. Good luck, and I'll see you around.
Yeah. Hope you have a good stream.
Thank you.
Have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you. Have a good one. All right. If you guys are in a similar situation and you're like creeping past 250 and you're like, well, how do I really want to go all the way up to 260? It's a big time investment. What do I even get to do when I get to 260? Hopefully those and some extra answers have been cleared up, or those questions rather, and some more have been answered. And yeah, what seems like a small, you know, just like one item, you know how you always talk about it's never just one thing, it's usually a combination of a whole bunch of things that you need to work on. It's pretty much one thing here. And once this really clears up and you get that arcane weapon, those two things together, plus a little bit more practice, hard Lotus and hard Damien should be a whole lot easier. And hopefully we've put things into context a bit, and we've organized the upgrades and what you want to be working on a little bit better for the people who are in a similar situation and a little bit stuck as well. And of course, you know, you could also work on Oz and get rings, but it doesn't seem like he had the time to be scaling up to that content. So if you enjoyed the video, I'm glad. Hopefully you had something to fill your totem time with or listen to live in the stream while we were waiting for the game to come back up from maintenance. If you would like to win one of these sessions, leave a comment on the YouTube video saying that you would like to win with your Discord name, and I'll reach out. I pull 2 winners at the end of every month, and it might just be you, so good luck. If you would like one of these sessions and you don't want to wait, check the description of the video on how you can request one of these. And with everything else, all of the links that I used, all of the resources I used are all freely available in my Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Scardor, can be used there by just simply putting exclamation mark and then whatever you're looking for information on, and the bot will reply to you with information, and it'll answer most, if not all, of your questions. And if you have anything left, just jump by the stream. I stream there every day, and you'll most likely catch me live and be able to ask a question to me directly. Yeah, other than that, I'll just thank you for watching the video, and either check out the next video in the playlist, or I'll catch you live on stream, or just when the next video goes live. Thanks for watching. I'll see you then.